expressive arts can really help with mental health.
I want to jump into the kit. Can we do a little unboxing here?
And not only did it not numb you, like it's helping you to become who you're meant to be.
I think that's what life teaches us. We get hit with these things we don't expect, and sometimes you don't know. And then you see a finished piece and go, oh, now I get it.
Instead of muting the emotion, we're going to actually turn right around and we're going to dive into your emotions.
For some reason, we're afraid to. And I want to make this where people aren't afraid to dive into your emotions, because that's the key to get out.
Someone said to me, Stephanie, do you want to be bitter or better? You get to choose what road you're going to go down.
In that moment, you have a choice. I accept this and I'm going to go with this as a growth opportunity because I believe I'm meant for more. Or you go into victimhood and say, this was terrible, this should never happen to me. How come it's me? Why me? And it's meant for you, not to you.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Seth, and this is The Forever Young Show. The most powerful force in this world is a woman who knows who she is, why she is here, and what she wants to accomplish.
And that's where self-care comes in. As a woman, it is my opportunity and my responsibility to take care of me.
Self-care for your mind.
Self-care for your body.
Self-care for your money.
Our mission is to serve women as they fulfill their irreplaceable roles in families, society, business, the fabric of humanity.
So let's get this show on the road.
Karen Hanlon is the founder of Painting Your Soul Incorporated and offers a transformative program that blends expressive painting, reflective journaling, and meditation for healing and self-discovery.
As a certified art therapy practitioner and abstract artist herself, Karen enriches lives through creativity. Her innovative approach has gained recognition from television broadcasts. We've been tracking those. We've been watching those, by the way, podcasts and magazines for its unique therapeutic process.
Karen also contributes articles to magazines and collaborates with counseling organizations nationwide. Through charity involvement and workshops, she spreads the message of art's transformative impact.
Painting Your Soul's multi-sensory journey of self-reflection presented in a take-home therapeutic art kit leads to profound personal insights.
Yeah.
Is this
there
it?
it is.
Does this look familiar? Does
Yes.
this look familiar?
I love it.
Soul care. We're gonna dive all into this, but Karen, welcome to the Forever Young Show.
Thank you. So glad to be here and so appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much to both of you for having me.
Your friend and professional in the PR world, Steve Jensen. We'll give him a plug here. Hopefully he listens to this episode, right? Hopefully he's a closet listener. Actually, hopefully he's not a closet listener. I hope he listens on speaker, right? But we met him, and this is just amazing. This is a principle here. Networking is so critical. And I feel that women actually are better networkers.
Oh, amen. Amen.
So true. I agree. 100%.
I think they're naturally better.
I was going to say, it's like God created us to network.
It's innate.
That's right.
Literally, it's innate in us to do that. It's not even learned. It's just part of us.
Yes, absolutely.
100%. I'm glad that you all agree with me. but we sat at a dinner with Steve because we had a mutual friend, and we started just bantering back and forth. And he mentioned that he was in the PR field, and one of his clients was you, and we started finding out about what you were doing with soul care. And then, of course, we talked about, he was asking what we were doing with the introduction of this self-care podcast for women, the Forever Young Show. And he just floated the idea. And, I don't think at the time, like, it didn't solidify, initially. But he reached back out and said, what do you think about having Karen on the show? And as we dove in and started doing our research, I looked at Steph. I'm like, I remember we were on the road. We were on the road in our Sprinter van down the highway on some excursion, some trip with a family. I'm like, you got to listen to this stuff. This lady is good.
Oh,
so here she is.
you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I love that warms my heart. What I do is a calling. It's my passion. It's my calling. There's nothing else I could imagine doing because it's part of who I am. And coming into this really in the past 10 years has been quite the journey. I've never learned so much as I've learned in the last 10 years about myself, what I'm capable of doing, and what gifts I have inside of me to share with others. And really it's just been magical, inspirational, and then coming across people like yourself that is doing the same thing and inspiring others. I'm just honored. I'm honored to be on this journey and sharing with others what makes me happy and hoping it makes others happy.
Well, it is. I know that because we're going to share a little about our soul care experience. We I don't know. We had a therapy session. Is that what we call it? A little therapy session.
It would be like
Uh,
that. It would be like that.
and we're going to show off some of the fruits of that therapy
I love it.
and get into it. But you mentioned your passion and this calling, so we're going to dial up our signature question for women around the world, and this is what we want to know.
Sure.
So, Karen, what are you most passionate about right now, and what are you doing about it?
My passion really, I am certainly passionate about creative expression. It's been part of my life since I can remember, since I was a child. But what I'm most passionate about now is sharing this program, this idea that expressive arts can really help with mental health in ways that I can only say I experienced myself. Going through a very difficult journey, I had to learn new coping skills that I really never had to dive into before. So when you're met with adversity and your life takes a turn that you're not expecting, you kind of throw your hands up and go, where do I go? What do I do? Who am I? And you ask yourselves all these questions and you find yourself almost lost in a way that you thought everything was this way, but it's really not. So it requires a deep dive. And the one thing that I could always go back to that gave me a lot of sense of peace was artistic expression. I did it as a teacher with my students. When they were struggling, I had them go into an art corner and let go through art and creativity and writing. So when it came to my life, going through a very, very difficult transition 10 years ago, my divorce unfortunately lasted close to 4.5 years. I had to cope in ways that I couldn't imagine. And to go a duration of time like that required something that would be long lasting. And I pulled out my paints, I pulled out my journals, and I actually started using other elements that I included in my kit, but at different times. Starting with journaling, I would write every single day, not because I wanted to read what I wrote. I wrote because it felt good to let go. When I realized what I was doing was letting go, I never looked at them. I just knew it felt good to release what was coming from inside of me out on a hand to paper in a journal is better than texting. So I did that every single day till I had stacks up to the ceiling. Never read any of them, but I felt better doing it. Later, time goes on, I started pulling out paintbrushes, not because I'm an artist, because I'm truly not a painter in that way. I'm a creator, but not a painter. But the paintbrush strokes felt meditative. I would sit there and paint because it felt good. The colors were speaking to me and I didn't understand what I was doing. I just knew I felt relief. And I needed relief because I was under so much pressure going through a very difficult transition in my life. And this helped me. And it was something that was not unhealthy. So I pulled out any chance I got paintbrushes. I used my hands. Canvases were everywhere. It just felt good. I started combining journaling with the painting. I'd write before I painted and then I'd paint. And it was amazing what I married them. And I thought, this is really helping me go through this time frame, which I felt completely lost, truly becoming a shell of who I used to be. In reality, I was never who I was supposed to be until this change happened. My favorite quote is from Cynthia Ocelli. For a seed to achieve its greatest expression, it must come completely undone. The shell cracks, its insides come out, and everything changes. To someone who doesn't understand growth, it would look like complete destruction. And when I realized what to me looked like destruction, very early on, I said, no, this is for a purpose, and I'm going to ride this and go, there's a reason for this. I will never look at this as my life is destroyed. And so once I took that, I just used every tool I could to help me cope during the time where it was difficult. I added essential oils. I added meditation, which I never knew about before, but I would listen to it at night and it would help me go to sleep. But I added that to the painting and the journaling. Before I knew it, I had literally steps. It became my regimen every single day. Added positive affirmations. I set them on my mirror and read, I am enough. I can do this. Here they are, actually. The very one that I used on my mirror. I would read them every day, not because I felt
We're going to give
it.
you a self-affirmation high five here. We're holding our little self-affirmation thing from the kit.
Yes. And it really was something I, over time, started thinking, I'm beginning to feel this, even though at first I didn't. And it was not right away, but I knew somehow I was planting seeds. It was a seed planted. And the more I said it, the more I realized somewhere it was going to register and I would come out feeling that way. Even at the time, the darkest times, I couldn't quite feel it. So when I'm taking each of these pieces and put them together, I start out with journaling, take the essential oils. Just those two alone, your anxiety goes down a few notches. You add in the affirmations and reading about the positive ways you can talk to yourself, you're taking yourself down another notch. You sit with a meditation for 10 minutes, you're almost floating by this point. The very last thing to do is paint. The meditation helped guide me into painting where I never had to think. I just painted because it was like daydreaming. And when you're in that moment, it's like being in the present moment where you have epiphanies, where you have your mind clear enough to make proper decisions. So many times we're not able to get into that space. There's so much noise going on everywhere. I created a way to get out of the noise so I could be at peace. And by the time I was painting, I was fully at peace and it felt like I was floating. And then I finished with a journal entry, and it was always different than what I started with in that session. And it would last about an hour and a half at the most, depending on how much I wanted to write that day. But it became my daily regimen. And it was what helped me find myself. I had to go deep. And the only way I could go deep, really to go into me outside of the exterior world, was to almost have a conversation with myself through color. That's why I call my business Painting Your Soul, because it's your soul that speaks through color. Who am I at the core? Well, I'm a businesswoman. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an innovator. I'm a teacher, inspirer. I'm a creator. All those things I didn't know I had in me was starting to come out every time I did this. It was like evolving over time. And the regimen, the self-care program I was creating, I created first for myself with no intention of it going anywhere other than to help me. And my faith and certainly counseling I was involved with too. I'm not saying this is the only thing, but it was what helped me dive deeper than I've ever been within a talk session or within anything I've ever done. It was a true connection to myself where I could finally hear myself and see who I am or who I'm becoming. And the more I did this, the more I was evolving. And here I am 10 years later, about to stand on a world stage in 2 weeks in London to talk about this process in front of 500 people in London. And that is where this took me, doing this for years. And of course, in between there, I started doing workshops. But that really was where this originated from. And it was very organic, was never planned. And at the time, I've never done anything with business. I was a stay-at-home mom. I raised my 2 children, and I was a great mom, a soccer mom, a dance mom, and a room mom. And that's all I thought I had in me. And I was doing a great job with that. But there were other plans for me. And my process helped get me into the space of stepping into who I am now for the rest of my life.
So who did you find in this process?
I found a beautiful, loving, open-hearted, innovative, creative, empathic, caring, strong, empowered woman.
What do you think is the most of all of these different perspectives and facets of you that you've discovered? Again, kind of like you talked about the rising phoenix, right? From the ashes, from burning to flying and to soaring. What surprises you most about the process?
It comes, the very beginning of it, there's a moment in time you make a decision. when you see your life in a way that completely is, I don't know, I want to say turned around or different or surprising, in that moment, you have a choice to say, I accept this and I'm going to go with this as a growth opportunity because I believe I'm meant for more. Or you go into victimhood and say, this was terrible. This should never have happened to me. How come it's me? Why me? And go, you have a moment in that time frame. It's a split second. You make that choice that determines your road you go down. And that's so important to have people realize. So many times they think something happens and it's terrible. And of course it seems terrible, but looking back, it's the best thing that could have happened to me ever in my whole life. I would never have been the leader that I am today or know that I even had this in me if my world didn't get turned upside down in the way that it did. It took that much to get me to flip to who I'm supposed to be. And sometimes it takes a bigger, what I call crash, to have that happen. And it's meant for you, not to you.
Yeah, I absolutely can relate to that. I was 24 when I was going through my divorce with two kids. And someone said to me, Stephanie, because, I'd bring up different things like, things that were bothering me with my ex or what. And this person said, well, first of all, isn't that one of the reasons why you left? And second of all, do you want to be bitter or better? You get to choose what road you're going to go down. And from
Right.
then on, I chose, I want to be better.
Yes.
No matter what I'm going through, I want to make my journey better.
Right. And that's exactly the decision that I made. And I'm hoping that other women make. If life throws them a curveball, that moment in time is when you decide, I want to make it better. I don't want to be bitter, because it's easy to go bitter. It's easier because people will pat you and say, you're right, it's bad, and hug you, and you get, but that's not really ultimately what it's for. It's really about growth and finding the strength within yourself that you didn't know you had, and gifts. The gifts that you have to offer the world are all hiding in there. And sometimes you don't get access to it till you have your life kind of turn upside down. And I would never have come to this place if I didn't have that. I was pretty satisfied with where I was, but really it wasn't to the level that I was supposed to be, like I am now.
Before we get there, I want to jump into the kit. Can we do
Yes!
a little unboxing here?
Please.
Can I just first say how beautiful all of it is? Like I love color, and I am definitely a visual person, and I just love how it looks. Like I just took a moment to even just look at the box.
Oh, thank you. It
So
was designed with love and the ocean. I live on the water. I'm looking at water right now in my backyard. Water is a big part of my life and it's very healing. So the theme of this kit is the ocean. And that's why you have the colors of the ocean all over and throughout inside of it, because the healing factors that I've found, especially personally, has been very beneficial to me as well.
So we're holding this soul care self-expression kit. I just covered you totally with I'll cover myself this time, right? If Steve, the PR guy, were here, we'd be putting this in front of his face. But for those who are listening, you can drop into the show notes and get all of the links to find out about this, or you can hop on over to the foreveryoungshow.com and watch it right on our YouTube channel. And we opened this kit. We had a little unboxing ourselves recently. And we got this special package from Florida. We were so excited.
Yes,
and
it was like Christmas.
It was like Christmas. We're like, oh, this is beautiful. And then we had a little a deeper unboxing because we went into it yesterday. And so I think we're actually going to throw that up in our VIP community. So if you're not part of the VIP community, we only release some of this specific content for them. You can join it at theforeveryoungshow.com and you can check out what we did with this and see the unboxing. We're going to walk you through this. And so it might not be pretty here on camera at first. Let me just set it right here. So you open this kit and you've got a wonderful box. I'm not going to do everything, but okay, we just put this. This is not how it came, folks. This is after a painting session. We got this wonderful getting started book, which one of the challenges, I think, especially you're talking, Karen, about being in a situation which is rife with conflicting emotions, right? I mean, all three of us here on the show have experienced divorce, and And I'm getting the feeling talking with you that we all had quite the time, right? Like this wasn't just a run of the mill kind of a thing or a breakup. It was hard and potentially drawn out and deep and whatnot. So having the steps in this book, by the way, hey, here's how we're going to have an experience. It was super helpful. Like this,
Yes.
we just walked right through it, like step 1 through 7. But you've got your easel, comes with you've got an easel in your kit. I mean, like we're full-fledged artists.
That's what
And
I want you
of
to
course,
feel,
you've got
because you are an artist.
You get canvas. I'm not going to show you the front of this canvas. That's a reveal here in a minute. Okay. But you got the canvas. You've got all your brushes. You've got all of these. How do you pronounce this, Karen?
Ganache. Actually, hold on. There is a way to pronounce. I'm not even gosh, I think nosh.
Gosh.
I don't know
I can say gosh.
way. Yeah. There's no really wrong way to say it. People say it different ways, but yes.
Now, are these oil paints?
Yeah, they're not oils. They're like acrylics. They just come out easier and they're a little bit more liquidy, so they're easier to spread on a canvas. Our acrylic's just a little thicker. That's why that is a better for what you're doing. Yes.
I loved working with this paint. And you get your brush set, multiplicity of brushes. You've got a journal. You've got your essential oils. I'm going to say Stephanie was like ODing on this yesterday. The instructions said 1 time.
Yeah.
So we're going through the instructions yesterday, and I'm kind of like I'm the guy who follows the recipe until I don't want to, because I have an artistic flair when it comes to cooking. And Stephanie is like on point yesterday with every single one of these things. She says, "Well, we didn't do this step." I'm like, "Babe, I think we're okay without doing. We didn't do this step." Like it
wasn't a whole step. It was like a little, let's get started on this part. And I'm like, no, we got to read through the whole.
Yeah, she was very until it came to the consumption of the lavender oil. And then it was like over, like she couldn't get enough of it. And I wanted to say it only said do it once, but I didn't.
I love it.
You got a candle. Okay. We love this your self-affirmation stand, self-love affirmation. What's so funny?
You keep putting it like right over me.
Am I putting it on your face? I'm equal opportunity. Here we go. There we go. All right.
Okay.
Here's one for Steve, the PR guy, wherever he is. Okay. And how do you pronounce this? The stone here.
Chrysocolla.
Chrysocolla.
Yeah, and
stone.
It has. I could write up a whole thing on it. I couldn't put it that much in there because I didn't want to overwhelm. But it's got. When I saw this, I was in California. It was the last thing to complete my kit when I was creating this, and I found it because the colors matched everything. And I picked it up and I asked him, "What does this mean?" And he was like, "Oh, this has healing factors in it. Healing." Helps with creativity and healing. And then he went through the whole write-up and I went, oh my gosh, this I need to have. And he said, oh my, this is great, especially if you're doing any kind of artwork or if you're trying to heal something emotionally. I said, there's my stone. So that's where that came from. And the colors were what drew me in. Obviously the colors of the ocean and so forth. But yes, it's a beautiful stone.
Oh, I absolutely fell in love with it. And I am a very energetic person. Yeah. And so when I put it in my hands, oh my goodness, so much relief in my body and my emotions. It was beautiful.
I'm so happy to hear that. Well, every component in that kit is very well thought out. Like I said, I've done it for years. Every piece of it you can do on your own by itself and it's helpful. But really, it's never been done where you add all these steps together in one powerful moment. And that's what I think makes this unique and sets it apart from anything else creative. Is it has all of those healing components together and it flows in such a way that you don't even feel like you're doing something that is that profound until you're finished. That's when you go, whoa, what just happened? It's almost hard to put words to the feeling when you're finished to what happens. But it's very powerful when you include all of those together. And that's what I found. And that's why I did it for myself for years. And that's why it's in the kit form that it is. I'll share a little story with you. There was a woman that is a very close friend of mine from college. She was watching me do these workshops all over California and Florida. She said, I'm never going to be able to make one of your workshops. And she's terminally ill. She was never going to leave the hospital. I said, I'm going to do something special for you. I'm going to send my workshop to you in a box. I'm going to include everything I do in my workshop, and I'm going to give you very specific directions, even a meditation. I'll even use my own voice. And I actually put this together just for her to use at the hospital so she could put it up on her tray. And the message I got back from her was tears. And oh my gosh, I've never felt this good in years. She was an actual painter. She painted something beyond beautiful before she passed away. And she was so grateful and thankful. And she could do it right there in the hospital. The nurses were raving about it as they watched her. That's where the idea stemmed from. And I realized I had something that can be for someone in a hospital situation or rehabilitation of any kind. That's the idea. But now this is going out to everyone. But the original idea was for hospitals to have someone who couldn't really do anything and they needed to heal. This was kind of their emotional healing kit. And that's what it did for her. And I realized then I have something here that I think is going to be bigger than I realize. And that's where that started from.
That's a beautiful story. Oh my goodness. The tears. We got the tears.
Yeah. She since passed away, but I promised her I was there when she passed away. I was the last person she spoke to, and I promised her people would know who she was because these are going to go worldwide. I told her that, and she believed me. She held my hand. She's, I believe in you, and I believe in what you're doing. And I told her, I promised her that she wouldn't be forgotten because she's the reason this happened.
May we ask her name?
Yes, her name
Karen?
is Gretchen. Her name is Gretchen. Yes.
Just making a moment for Gretchen and her family. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided that we didn't really feel whole about doing the show together without having walked maybe a mile on your canvas.
I love that.
And so we got together and we had two of these boxes. And by the way, just Karen, just a quick direction. In order for our listeners to find this kit, they need to go. This is obviously in the show notes, but we'll just put it right here, a direct insert. Where do they need to go online?
My website. You can purchase them right off my website.
And that is?
www.paintingyoursoul.com.
Paintingyoursoul.com. Love it.
And you can purchase it right off my website.
We love this. This was an awesome date.
Thank you.
And I can tell you, this is not the last time we're going to, this wasn't a one and done.
No,
thing.
It's not.
Well, even, I don't know if you know this, Seth, but even after we came in and our kids got to see it, some of our little kids were like, wait, can you get me a kit? I want to do a kit. I want to do this.
Guess what, you guys, you're going to be the first to hear this, but I have created one for teenagers and children.
Awesome.
And it was easy.
Awesome.
I worked with children from age 3 all the way up, of course, till adults, but 3-year-olds can do this. And it has made changes in 3-year-olds, if you can imagine. So, and as an educator and a teacher that I taught elementary school, this was very easy for me to create for children. It was harder for me to do for adults, believe it or not. Children was easy. And the teenagers, I worked with both age groups in the counseling center. I worked at it for the last decade. I've worked with a lot of children and a lot of teenagers. And the kits that I'm working on now will be just like this, except geared for that age group. Like the teenagers will have Play-Doh in there and more tactile fun things. Confetti to celebrate yourself. They spread, throw confetti up when they're done. More just fun and a lot of self-care. What does self-care look like? The message in the teenage box will be more self-care. The children's one is more about not being afraid of what you feel and letting go of fear. So they each have a different theme, but it will be appropriate to that age group. That's coming in the works. And that all of this is about to happen. But it takes some time to get them in a distribution center but they've been created already. So it is going to happen and you'll be able to have them for your kids. And, but these kits themselves, you guys just did are really ages easily 13 on up can do this. If they follow directions, they can do this. So it's really,
I'm excited. I'm excited for that because I know our kids were excited.
Just so you know that there will be one.
I want to try out each age of the kits, to be honest.
You just want the confetti.
Yeah, no, confetti confetti should be in all of them. But I came up with that after the fact. When I was working with the teenagers, they loved just throwing stuff up and glitter and anything that was just fun and, that kind of thing. And so I specifically added that, but certainly we can change that and put that in every one of them.
I love it.
Celebrate
I love
yourself.
it. Well, totally. Actually, kind of where I was going with this mentally was I've been doing a lot of inner child work,
Yeah.
parts work for myself,
Mm-hmm.
for different trauma and things that I've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh my goodness, I want to go back as that little girl and express
Mm-hmm.
myself in ways that I didn't
Right.
when I was little. Like, how therapeutic will that be?
That is such a great statement you just said. I spoke with someone yesterday from the UK when I talked, we were sharing about what I was going to talk about on stage. And a lot of it is like bringing out your inner child through this. Because somewhere around the age of 8 or 9, we got stopped being ourselves, or we even me, like certain things I remember shutting down, and somewhere that stays shut down until you open it up or till life opens it up for you. And going back to your inner child and being able to playfully do this in honor of that child in there that still needs that is so healing and so cathartic. And I think that's again why I was able to come out of this so much and then come to who I am is healing that inner child through this and being able to be playful without judgment. You're being asked to do nothing but be free to express yourself on a canvas without judgment. No one's telling you that's right or wrong. No one's telling you red means this, black means that. You're telling yourself what it means. And it is only you coming up with your own answers, and it's empowering. But it really does help create that communication with you and your inner child.
I did not see that coming.
It's okay. This happened yesterday with my friend from the UK. She teared up because she was told to stop dancing at 8, and she's never danced since. So many times we're shut down and we don't realize it until much later. And then you want to go back and find that part of yourself that was so precious and so real and authentic, and not judge it and say, this is me. This is all of me. And this is the tool that helps that happen. And this is the open door to it. It's just the door opening to it. And I just give you the door. You open it. You open it when you open the kit and say, okay, I'm here for you. We're here. Let's connect. Let's find ourselves again. It's the fact that you opened it is you're saying yes.
From the time I was a little kid, being in church and singing, and just Jesus's words coming to my mind now about, the kingdom of heaven is as an adult. No, he didn't say that. He said the kingdom of heaven is as a little child. And there's just something, as you were talking about inner child and the work, and we do get shut down. And I'm thinking really personally, because we've got an 8-year-old turning 9 who is a child, and like just beautiful living. And I mean, in our work, I see people trapped every single day.
Yeah.
One of my missions in life is to liberate the captive, and I'm not talking about with automatic weapons.
No.
I mean, semi-automatic, but
Right.
but it brought a new meaning to me, Karen, about this whole concept of heaven, and the concept of progression, and the concept of becoming who we truly need to become, which is the little child that got shut down. So anyway, thank you for allowing me to have a moment here.
Makes me thrilled to see that, because it's honest, it's authentic, it's what this does. It helps open you up and go, it's refreshing. It's too hard to be shut down all the time in life. You are just it's like this armor is around you and you're unable to really be free. So in essence, this is setting you free to find that 8-year-old again, and honor your 8-year-old, and knowing they're in the space where they're their happiest. Nothing's telling them they can't do something or be something. They think they can do everything. And you want that to continue for that age, because it's so, one thing can shut it down so easily, and you just don't want that, because they just start losing themselves over time. But that you're coming back to that 8-year-old self, really, in essence, when you do this, you're finding that feeling of what it felt like to be that age, with the freedom and the honesty, the purity. And that's what you're coming back to with this. It helps.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
You mentioned teenagers.
Yes.
And we can say something about that. We have a blended family of 10.
Oh, wow.
And
10 kids.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
blended family. Yeah, not the family of 10 kids. And we have 4 at home.
Mhm.
We've gone through. They're like a dish rag now. We've gone through 8 teenagers now. We've had 8
You're the
at some
expert.
point. 2. And I remember reading about some research that came out of, I think it was Australia, and mental health and wellness. In fact, I think it was about depression. And it was talking about how the research has shown that, and this is kind of like a duh, but sometimes we use science like that just to confirm what we already know, but we
Yes.
can then quantify it.
Right.
Right. But being outside, getting outside and walking and working, in nature was more effective in quote unquote treating. I think the study was about depression than traditional pharmacological, Prozac, whatever,
Right.
Wellbutrin, a medical approach.
Mhm.
And I just had this epiphany as we're talking. I'm thinking this multi-dimensional, multimodal self-expression. This is not an art kit.
No,
Soul
I
care
know.
is
Thank
not
you.
about
Thank you.
art.
I love it.
But this is therapy. Like this is something that I would want every one of my teenagers to experience. And we're not going to wait till they're teenagers. We have to, we have more to correct. Correct meaning more baggage to garbage to fix out. Like, we're starting them young. We got a 6-year-old. She's doing this at self-expression kit.
It's never too. I did it with a 3-year-old. Do you realize at 3, I was able to stop? This little girl had a coughing tic. It was from fear of some sort she developed. And the mom said, can you work with her? And I did my process with her at a very, elementary level. It was exact though. And I was surprised, and the mom was floored. The tic stopped. The coughing tic stopped completely from doing this. Subconsciously, she had some fear going on that she didn't even know. We don't know what caused it to stop. We just know the process helped her negate what was going on in her mind that was causing the tic. And it completely stopped. And that is a true story. The mother today, to this day, says it was from that process. At 3-year-old, it's never too young. And I'll share with you, as a teacher, my students, I taught advanced students in elementary level, self-contained gifted children who came with very bright minds, but also a lot of emotional parts of them were not as balanced sometimes. So what did I do with them? Instead of sitting them in timeout, they went to the art corner. They wrote stories, and then they did art. That is what helped balance them out to come back to the class and get straight with what we were doing in the classroom. So I never put them in a timeout. It was get creative. So in my mind, every child I've worked with has had a creative corner. So I've developed in their home, with the parents' help, a corner where they go to decompress and use art naturally to help them when it comes to things they can't articulate. Because there's so many times the elementary school age kids can't articulate what they're feeling, so they act out. And we throw them in timeout, we give them dimensions, whatever they're called, detentions. They just need to express something, and they're having a difficult time doing it. So when I went back to my teaching days, it all made sense. In essence, this is what I'm asking everyone to do, is find a space within your home that you can express creatively and find some sense of peace there, and you will be able to accomplish it through creative expression. It is absolutely scientifically proven. I've proven it for 10 years. And if we can turn to that, just like I asked little children to do in their home, adults should have that too. We need a space in our house that's our creative expression space. You don't have to be an artist. You just have to be able to express in any way that makes sense to you. And that is the message I'm trying to get out there, even through these kits. Not about being artistic, using it as a tool to let go and be expressive and find that piece of yourself. And then my goal again, to have everyone doing this as a form of coping when you're struggling in life. You come to different points where you're just having a hard time coping. This is your coping kit. People call it an emotional first aid kit. I have doctors that use this, that work in the emergency room here at Morton Plant Hospital in Clearwater, Florida. They use my kit because they can't take anything. They have to do something very holistic, especially working in the emergency room. This helps them decompress. It's what they do. So it's almost like I want people to look at this as a coping skill that is healthy, holistic, and it not only helps you, but it helps you find parts of yourself that you didn't know were missing.
You talked about in kind of the aftermath, or not even the aftermath, but being in the middle of the battle, right? What I'll call the fog of war.
Yes.
And something I was taking notes. You said I needed to find something that could help me. You mentioned creativity. We talked about imagination. And you said something that was not unhealthy. In other words, you needed a healthy outlet. And I was just imagining how many of us and how many women really, like, our default, because of generational traditions, or generational curses, whatever you want to call it, we might, or they might be attracted to that unhealthy coping mechanism, right?
Yes.
And this is soul food, right?
Exactly. This
So
is soul food. And that is what I'm hoping for. So people turn to something like this instead of the unhealthy coping mechanisms that are out there right now that are not doing anything for us. And the pharmaceuticals,
absolutely.
I actually tried to be on something for like an antidepressant at one point in time. It was miserable. For a week, I said, this is awful. I couldn't do it. I simply tried it and I said, this is making me not even feel myself. And so I went past that, and this is what I dove into as the one thing that helped me solidly get out of anxiety and fully be able to immerse myself and get in the peaceful place. And even if it was just for an hour, it was better than what I would have done otherwise that would have been unhealthy. So thankfully, this helped me not turn to unhealthy things that could have happened after a 4.5-year divorce. There's lots of things that could have come in. But I turned to walking the beaches, or walking in nature, because being outside physically was what saved me as well. That's why this is ocean themed. I walk that beach every single day for years, both in California and Florida, because it is my backyard. Doesn't mean you have to have a beach. You just have to have a backyard or a street. Just walking. So that became my therapy, along with the other components in the kit. And that's what got me through. It really did. And then the workshops I did to help other people was just a hobby for me, because it helped me heal someone else. When I saw the benefits to them, it made me feel better. So I was helping myself while I was helping other people at that time. And that's what really shot it right up, because I thought, wow, this is really different. People are loving this, and I'm going to keep doing it. But I didn't have an intention of going any further with it, but it was meant to go further, because here I am 10 years later, now an owner of a company, CEO and founder, and a product. So it had a life of its own, and I was just following it.
I mean, sometimes I've heard from other people, or even from children, that, when they are prescribed quote unquote drugs, that it actually sometimes numbs them out.
Yeah.
They don't feel anything.
Yeah.
And I love that instead of doing that, you turned the other way, and not only did it not numb you, like it's helping you to become who you're meant to be.
Yes.
And that is such a beautiful gift.
Yes, exactly.
Instead of muting the emotion, and the passion, you talk about sending kids to timeout. It's because there's a lot of passion going on. Instead of muting that with kind of an external controller, whether that be a timeout or whether that be a pharmaceutical, we're going to actually turn right around, and we're going to dive into your emotions, dive into your creativity, dive into your expression.
Right. And we're so afraid to do that. And for some reason, we're afraid to. And I want to make this where people aren't afraid to dive into your emotions, because that's the key to get out. That's the one key that lets you free. And we don't see that.
Absolutely.
We see that as stay away. Let's do everything but that, because we're going to protect ourselves, but we're protecting ourselves from nothing. We're hurting ourselves by not expressing what's inside of us naturally. We feel things because it's natural. This isn't, you're going to feel anger. You're going to feel hurt, devastated. Those are natural feelings. Just, you don't want to hold on to them. You want to get them out, feel it, and then get the other side of it. But to hold on to it, it's just like this, it's becoming what we call dis-ease. Dis-ease turns into disease.
I actually had some experience with that just recently, honestly, just the last week or two, where we actually recently did a podcast on domestic violence, and it shocked me, but it really triggered me, and I couldn't fully come out of it for a couple of weeks until I went and did that inner child work and realized what my needs were as a little girl. But in the midst of that, I had been feeling sick and I wasn't getting over it. And I was like, what is going on? What is going on? Why can I not kick this to the curb? And then once I felt better, then another thing popped up, within, 12 hours or less. And
Right.
I'm working with a hormone doctor right now. And she was like, Stephanie, what's attached to this sickness? What's, let's jump into this, because she's more of a whole body approach. And, realizing, oh my goodness, I wonder if it was being triggered from this podcast that I did. And I wasn't expecting to be triggered by it. And then I ended up doing that inner child work. And while I was doing it and expressing, myself, one of the big things that I was feeling sick was my throat. And while I was doing that,
Your
my
voice.
throat felt so much better after I did that. It was really powerful.
Wow.
Really powerful. So yes.
That's amazing. Yeah, especially as women, we lose our voices somewhere along the line. I know I did, and I didn't realize it though. It's funny. It's very tricky. When you've had trauma, the last thing you want to do is speak up or stand out. You want to hide. It's a natural way of just going,
Yes.
I don't want to put myself out there to have anything else happen. So we go into hiding, and then we lose our voices, and then we go further and further into oblivion. In reality, we need to be out there more and in sharing and expressing. And sometimes we tend to go inward. And so the way the kit works is to pull you out. If you're in that space, we're going to bring you out so we can find your voice again and find you again and get you back up there steady and standing right up where you should be, enjoying life and finding peace within it.
Which I definitely, I feel like happened when we went through this kit.
So we went through this kit. So we're back to the kit. This is awesome. This is an incredible discussion. So we're not going to go through all the steps, but the beautiful thing about the guide is it takes you through the steps as you prepare. And one of those early steps, in addition to the stone, by the way, this is a gift because this was really my stone. But Stephanie saw my stone and I could see that she wanted my stone because her stone had a little more brown in it. And this one was more blue. And I looked at her, I'm like, babe, would you like my stone? And she's like,
no, that is not what happened.
Oh, what happened?
I said, can we trade? I like yours better.
No, I think I offered it.
Yeah, they're all.
I think we're remember. Fortunately, we recorded this, so we will get back to you. And when you go to the VIP community to see the VIP for your eyes only, you will see that I offered this to my wife.
Okay, so here's the thing: is you were like, oh, okay, and so I gave it to you, and you looked at it and you go, oh, I know why. Because it had like brown is more of your color.
Yeah.
Like
oh yeah.
Those natural colors, whereas like the beautiful blue vibrant is more me.
Oh, true. I saw this and I thought of you, honestly. So I was happy to give it to you. Like I said, like I offered it. So
I love that. It's funny because there are some brown in the rocks and they represent, when I was in California, I was up at the top by Big Sur, Northern California coastline, which the cliffs were the most beautiful I think I've ever seen, honestly. And when I was going through this, finishing up formulating my kit, I just remembered that in my mind's eye, the cliff with the brown, with the blue water, the combination with the cliffs and the water, that's what that stone had. So there's mountain, there's cliff in that brown, there's strength, right? There's rock, like you're strong, like a rock. So that brown in there is actually really good.
See,
I'll be a rock. You
are
can be
my
the
rock,
ocean.
so.
Right? See, that's how it works.
Yes.
So we pulled out our journals and started writing. Anything you want to say about your journal experience, the pre-journal experience?
You know what? That one was probably one of the most difficult for me because I've always struggled with writing. Expressing myself on paper has always been something that I've struggled with. But once I got that one inspiration, which we haven't even talked about this, it was what you brought up, the whole inner child thing. You're like, well, you did inner child work the other day. Is there something you want to talk about that? And I was like, no. And then he's like, well, you got some healing, right? I was like, yeah, I got healing, but I don't necessarily want to write about it.
Yeah.
And then I totally did. I totally did. And it was so good. It was really good. I ended up writing, a lot more than I thought I was going to. But yeah, it was, I really loved how it started off the journey. I thought that was really great.
Thank you.
And I also
It is,
love,
yeah, it's sometimes hard
I,
for people to start out with journaling, especially if they're not used to it. It is hard, but that's why I keep it very open. Just write how you feel in this moment, even if it's a sentence.
yeah.
It's what I used to do with my students. That's how I got them to write. Just do a sentence. And then each time it got easier and easier. And then before they knew it, they're journaling like crazy. That's why there's a journal entry at the end, because you'll see the difference from the beginning to the end is pretty substantial in where your mind goes or where your emotions end up. But the journaling is one of the biggest things to tackle. And it's why it's the first thing, because it brings out a lot of fear in us initially. But it's when you overcome that fear, it's easy to overcome the fear of doing the rest, especially in the painting at the end. So I'm preparing you to let go.
Interesting. Yes, that you just described my journey, honestly, doing this.
Yeah.
Like once I did, I was like, okay, I feel great. Let's dive into this
Right.
painting. And I feel like art is not necessarily my strong creative side, but I still am drawn to it. I still love it.
Right.
And so I'm always trying. And I will tell you that when Seth and I first started this experience and he got out the cameras so that we could film it. And I was like, Seth, so he had our two cameras set up to where you could see on one camera, you could see the back of me with my painting and the front of Seth. And then the same on his side. So you could see the back of him and his painting and the front of me. And at first I was like, I really don't want people to see what I'm drawing, what I'm painting. Like like even doing this is so vulnerable of me, but then for you to film it and know that we might use that for content is like so extremely vulnerable. And I feel like it would hinder the experience and even my creativity from coming out. But then after a little bit, I was like, well, I guess you could film it. And it's not like it's alive. So if I don't like it, we could play around with it and take it out or something like that.
Right.
But I ended up being so grateful that we did film it because the experience was so beautiful. And to be honest with you, like even, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead on what you're thinking.
You're girl, you're rolling right now.
But when we did the meditation and I really, was just taken into myself and the experience and your beautiful words and your soothing voice and just listen to it. And then, you talk about color or, different things, just doing the stroke. And I'm like, okay, the color I picked was purple and purple is one of my least favorite colors. So I was shocked, but I'm like, I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to do this.
Yep.
And then even just being like, oh, just do a stroke. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like I need direction. I need to know exactly what I'm painting, And I'm like, I'm trusting the process. I'm trusting the process. And I will have to do a little shout out for McKenna Woolley. She is also an artist. And I went to one of her classes and she just was like, Stephanie, who taught you to color inside the lines? Who taught you that you have to know exactly what you're doing? I was like, oh crap, you're calling me out. So I did have a little bit of her pop up in my mind, like, who told you, So I'm like, okay, let go. Okay, I'm letting go.
Right.
And even each step as I went through and picked a different color or I picked, what I was going to do with that brush stroke or whatever, I was really blown away at what I ended up creating at the end.
Yes.
And something I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't even know what else to say.
I think that what you said really struck a chord with me in a positive way, that you found some things happen that you didn't expect. You picked a color that you didn't expect, but you went with it. It's just really kind of listening to your gut and going with it.
Yes.
And then the next time it gets easier, next stroke gets easier. And it's almost like it's flowing and you've kind of learned how to go with the flow a little bit. And I think that's what life teaches us. We get hit with these things we don't expect. We're looking for a lot of answers or we're looking for everything to be set up just so, but sometimes it just isn't. And sometimes you don't know. And you just have to go with one stroke at a time. And then you see a finished piece and go, oh, now I get it. But sometimes you just don't know in the moment. And that's why you go with your intuition, your gut. Your gut says purple, go with it. Don't question it. Just trust. And that's what you did beautifully. And you got the feeling of, okay, so when it comes to another situation in your life where you're kind of going, oh, I don't think I can do that. I've never done that before. You're going to remember this experience and go, wait a minute, I did this in another way. I can do that too. And that's the bridge. This is where people now, it's like taking a neural pathway and going, oh, now this is easier. Each time you do something and overcome a fear or go into the unknown, like a blank canvas is a big unknown. But if you can fill that, you've overcome something pretty big to be able to do that and come out the way you did.
Yes, yes. And I will say a few things. One, I did love and appreciate the affirmations on the side, because anytime I kind of stalled on something, I was like, okay, and I'd look over and just read through some of those affirmations, and it really helps me. Another thing I want to point out is that at the beginning of this, if I'm just totally honest, Seth can attest to this, I kind of had a bad attitude. Like, you know what? I'm exhausted. I feel like I could go to sleep right now.
Right.
This isn't really what I want to be doing right this moment. But
I've heard
then
it.
when I came out of it, I don't know if you noticed, but I was like floating. I was just like, this is so great. Life is wonderful. Oh yeah, I can take over and do dinner, for my daughter that was doing it. Oh yeah, I can. It really,
Isn't
really
that
was
amazing? In that time frame, we resist the very thing that could help us, but we don't even know we're doing that. And I witness this all the time where people say, yeah, well, I'm going to get to this when I get to it. And it's a timing thing. I don't ever say, you have to do this in 2 weeks or else. It could sit on your shelf for a year. It's going to happen if you have it in your presence, though. Somehow, if you've connected with me and this is in your presence somewhere along the line, you're going to do it. But most people will say, I wish I had done it sooner, or I wish I didn't wait so long. In your case, you did it right away, but a lot of people will wait because they're a little intimidated by it. And that's what I want to bridge the gap and go, nothing to be intimidated with. This is like what you said, you felt like you were floating. If you knew going into this, you were going to feel that afterward, you'd dive right in, right? You'd be like, oh, I know what I'm going to feel. But it's the hesitancy, it's the not knowing, and you think it's an arduous journey, and it's the opposite. It sets you free. And that's the biggest challenge I have, is to get people to get past that. Oh, I don't know, this seems like a lot. I don't want to follow directions. And then they push it aside and they're avoiding the freedom they could feel in that moment. But it's their personal journey, and I don't judge. This is a timing thing for anyone to do whenever they're ready, and there's no judgment to it. That's the best part about it. And there's nothing to judge when doing it or when you didn't do it, or it's completely personal. And the experience you had was exactly why I created it, because it becomes something you'll remember. It's when you use all your senses, and pretty much all your senses are used here. It becomes an impactful experience that you don't forget, that you've learned something from it. It helped you. That tool helped you for something in the future to try, something unknown or something that you're not sure about. You're going to be more apt to dive into it, that you're going to trust yourself. It builds a little bit more trust when you do something like this.
You know what? That's so true, especially because, honestly, art has been something that I've struggled with my whole life. I was even telling my niece the other day, as a teenager, when I would go to church activities and they would do crafts or art or whatever, sometimes I would start it, I would never finish it. And a lot of times my youth leaders would come in and, feel bad. And so they'd finish it for me.
Oh.
And so it's something that I either have frequently left undone or go into it stressed or, with hesitancy. And, now that you're saying that, next time I want to do this, or my child or my spouse wants to do it, I'll be like, heck yeah, that was fun last time.
Right. And because the way you feel when you're finished, you can't deny it's euphoric. It's like daydreaming, and it's almost like, it's like floating, like you said. And that's what I hear from most people. They feel like they're floating, and it's really like daydreaming. And you're not, your mind, your analytical mind is on vacation, and your other side of the brain is in where it never gets a chance to play. So really that side of you is now getting a chance to express where it's been pushed aside for years. And it's uncomfortable because you're not used to that. You're not used to not analyzing something, judging it, fearing it, right? It's not like us to go into something, right? It's almost like a relearning. This is a tool to help you unlearn some of the habits that have hurt us.
Yep.
So we're going to show you Steph's painting here.
Oh, good.
In a minute.
Okay.
In a minute, like the plot thickens. So I started with journaling, and to be quite honest, for me, art, and again, we've established this. This is not an art kit. This is not about art. This is not really about painting. It's about self-expression.
Yes.
And everything is just a modality
Right.
and an opportunity.
Mhm.
And I'm just going to put it out there. Like I did this one time. Give me a break. Like I'm not done. Like you're not done expressing yourself.
No, you're just
I'm going to show you my painting.
You're just starting.
Yeah, I'm just, it is a new avenue
Yes.
to give myself some self-love and to find out a little more about what's inside of me. So
can I say something really fast?
yeah,
I did love that you said all of that about that it's not necessarily art, that it's, a journey, expression, all these things. It really gave me permission to let go also. So I just wanted you to know that. I appreciated that.
Right.
so I pull out the journal, and here's my thoughts about journaling. It's so good for you. I don't want to do it because like I've known journaling, like I've been taught that journaling is so powerful for my entire life.
Right.
And off and on and off and on. And mainly what happens is I can't start with today because this happened yesterday and that was awesome. And then this last week, and I got to catch you up on, man, I'm done. Like just close the book. Like I can't even start that. So I just, again, I went into this, and maybe it was the lavender. Maybe it was, maybe it was knowing that we were going to have this show. So I was going to have to show up, but I actually do enjoy expressing in words, and that's more natural for me. So it started me off, and rather than going into what happened yesterday or my thoughts or my feelings, I had this image, and maybe it's because you'd primed my mind with water. Maybe it's because blue's one of my favorite colors, right? But I had this idea of a dewdrop, of a raindrop, some water, and so these are the lines I wrote. This is the poem. This is like the first page of this journal.
Wow.
Inside the heart, a sea of passion, like roaring waves it rolls, crashing down upon shoreline of craggy, creviced stones. Also within that same torrential heart of hurricane-like power, innocence and purity, born of peaceful reflection like dew on the morning flower.
Oh my gosh.
Still further yet, a glass-like lake, a mirror of reflection, the hopes and dreams that may come to be, manifesting the soul's vision.
Nice. That's incredible. I have tears in my eyes. I love that.
Right?
It's so beautiful, and it's everything I'm about is the ocean, and how you've stated it in the poetic way you used your words is absolutely beautiful. I have never been so touched. Truly.
Wow.
Thank you. I'm going to say that of everything that I experienced yesterday, these lines mean the most to me. And I'm going to allow that. Like,
yes.
Like part of me during the whole process wanted to judge, like, no, the painting's got to be like I was really working on creating new synaptic connections in that brain, saying no judgment here, no judgment, right? I am compassionate and creative, right? Creativity flows through me with ease, right? But this is what I'm most proud of, because this is and I haven't really edited it. I mean, there are a couple of words I did here, but it was pretty much free flowing. And I feel like, wow, that's inside of me.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't feel that way about what I put on the canvas as much.
That's okay.
And that's okay.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's good that you see that, because it really is. That's why I leave it so open-ended. I know some people struggle with it, but I want this to be an experience that's personal for you, whether it's the journal or the painting. As long as your expression happens the way it needs to happen for you, that's all that matters. The painting is irrelevant. The writing, what you did, was exactly what you needed in that moment, and the rest was just icing on the cake. So
experience
that without judging is absolutely perfect.
Well, thank you.
Oh, and I was blown away when he wrote or read it to me. At first, he wanted to read it before we painted, and I said, no. we got to do the steps in order. I don't want this to like change what I'm doing. So he's like, oh, okay.
I thought it was a good point.
So-
I was like, at first I was like, I want you to read. I want to tell you about this poem. And she's like, yes. Oh, wait a second. No. I'm like, wait, I can't. Well, no, we got to follow the steps. We got to. But then the idea was, honestly, I totally agreed. It was, Seth, I'm sure that's going to be great. That's your self-expression.
Right.
I want to continue in the vein that I've started with my
Right.
self-expression. So I thought it was actually brilliant, and I'm glad she called off the dogs.
No, and I think it's
But
neat for you to do this together. I love hearing people doing this together and what they've learned about each other through this. Heightens things, and it really brings some awareness to things that you wouldn't know maybe otherwise. It's a great thing to do as a couple. And I'm thrilled to see your response to this, doing it together, because it does require talking back and forth, and you know, it's navigating this together is really neat to see how well you did with that.
It was really fun. But when he did read that poem to me, I was like, oh my goodness. I was choked up with
that.
tears.
I'm going to post that if you don't mind. As a
Absolutely.
if you're okay with that, it's truly beautiful. It brought tears to my eyes to think that you could write something like that just from literally opening up this kit right away. That's the strength and the power that this has to be able to bring and illuminate something within you that you either didn't know or forgot about, or go, wait, I look at this. Like, that's brilliant. and everyone, it's about pulling out your own gifts. It's not somebody else's gifts, it's yours. And that's what this is for. It's highlighting who you are and raising it up. And it's just beautiful. So thank you for sharing that beautiful, vulnerable moment with your journaling. It means a lot to me, especially.
Thank you. That was I can't remember what step it was. It was step 1 or 3 or whatever, but it was awesome. It was at the beginning.
Yes, early
so
on.
Then we go painting. And I couldn't see what Steph was painting. We were on opposite ends of the table. Again, those who are in the VIP community are going to see the footage on this. But at the end, Stephanie reveals this. This is her painting. This is the purple painting.
Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh, look at that. Oh, I see flowers. Oh my gosh, blossom. Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
There's even a little ladybug.
The sunshine and the flowers and the colors are beautiful. I just love it. I love that you wrote blossom. That's
Thank you.
So beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That
like
means
I said,
so much.
Each step of the way was a little intuition. Definitely what I wrote about afterwards. Trusting my gut, trusting my intuition.
Right. I absolutely love that. The colors, the flowers, the word blossom means so much. Think about it. You're blossoming. It's a representation, right? Mm-hmm. And the best part with the journaling, which I do encourage to continue doing after you've done this, is you're going to get more insights to that painting every single day. Mm-hmm. It really comes at odd times of the day and you're like, oh, and then you write down that insight. And before you know it, you're on this pathway of going, I just found out something new about myself I didn't know before. And then the journey begins and it keeps going like that. And the continuation of painting and this, it's the growth that's happened for me because I did it so much. It's how I grew. It's how I got to the core of me, the inner child, the person that needed to have a voice. That's how the voice started to come out, is through that. And I just love your painting. It's so beautiful and so representative of who you are.
Thank you. I definitely feel that way about it too. I love it. I'm proud of it.
So that just means the world to have this kind of a testimonial. And I have to be honest, I've never had this happen yet. So this is a first time for me to experience someone that has done it together, and sharing the results for me on a podcast is unbelievable. I couldn't be happier to validate what I'm doing and what I'm really hoping for, because a journey like this hasn't been easy. I've had a lot of adversity, a lot of people poo-pooing it like whatever. There's coloring books out there. And I'm like, no, this is more than a coloring book. Seriously, trying to get to people, helping them understand what this is. Like this, what you're talking about helps articulate this so much better than I could ever do on my own. It takes somebody doing it and saying, this was my experience. And that's what people listen to. And they're going to say, oh, if that happened for him, that happened for her, I know I can do this. But that's been my struggle, is having people really understand this is not about artistic ability, but the tool is necessary in there. It really is necessary for the whole thing to have the effect that it does have.
Agree.
This is so representative of Stephanie, because I don't know if you can see, she's there. There is a little red
Ladybug.
ladybug
It's a
on the flower.
ladybug. Oh, they're so
Hello,
sweet. I love ladybugs.
I'm like, how did she paint that? This ladybug has spots. I don't know if you can see in the camera. That lady has spots. I'm like, wait, did we have the same brushes? Because, and then her signature, this is so Stephanie. Can you see that?
Yes.
She's got a heart. Right?
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? And you can look at it and go, everything she did was authentic, real, and it was her, right? Every little bit down to the ladybug, which I absolutely love a ladybug. They bring good luck.
They are.
Yes.
So my mother here was at the house because she lives here. My parents live with us, and she was coming in from the yard or something. And we were in the backyard actually doing this. So we had, again, you'll see the footage, you'll see some of the footage, Karen, but we had hummingbirds flying around us and birds chirping, and we live on a mountain literally. So, I mean, it was just a peaceful, beautiful place to do it. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. We were in the shade under one of the trees, and my mother, she comes, how are you guys doing? Oh, we're great. We were just finishing up, and she comes and stand behind me, says nothing. She's looking at my painting. Says nothing. But I was already prepared for that, because like, I'm going to show you my painting, and it's for nobody else. Like it's where I was yesterday. Right.
It's where you were yesterday.
She goes behind Stephanie. Looks at her. She's like, ooh, like she loved it. Right. But what I think is important, and that's wonderful. This isn't about anybody else wanting to buy your painting or give you a pat on the back or say nice poem, Seth. I'm glad that you ladies that you like the poem. I'm truly happy. I'm glad that you felt emotion, and that's wonderful. But whether you liked it or not, I liked it.
Absolutely. That's all that mattered.
And whether you like my painting or not, I don't like it. I'm going to show you my painting. Like,
that's okay. That's okay.
I'm doing this because I know there are people out there. I know there are women out there who are like me, who are like, I'm not going to paint. And like Stephanie's got, she's got the beautiful flag. Like, this thing's being displayed, right? The kids love it. They're going to want this. I guarantee you, this is going to be part of the discussion on our family estate decades from now. Like, no, I want the blossom painting, right? Our little 6-year-old's running around saying, it says blossom. Isn't it beautiful? Right. And so in my mind, I was, again, not really used to the medium of painting to express myself. Right. I don't know that I've ever had an acrylic type, a gouache, like I've done watercolor, folks,
right,
and Crayola, right. Okay.
Mark the coloring books,
the coloring books. And so, learning how to express yourself with paint, and I think I also chose imagery as opposed to maybe just color and strokes. Right. And so I don't want to say I limited myself. Again, I'm just saying, wow, this is a celebration because I'm learning about myself.
Yes. Thank you.
Confetti, right? I'm learning. Yes. I had fun like creating texture and mixing colors and learning about one stroke to the other. Now, at the end, like, did I get the raindrop, the dewdrop? Well, like, I mean, it's in that form, but so this is my painting.
I love it. Absolutely love it, because it shows your expression. Everything about it is what you need to see and what you need to feel about yourself. And there's nothing to judge about it. They're all beautiful. Everything in
I feel like the third grader.
That's all you.
I feel like the third grader taking this to my teacher.
So validate your third grader.
Thank you. That's interesting. I never
And I
thought about this.
taught third grade.
Here's what I learned.
Validate your third grader. I taught third grade, and that was my grade I taught. And I'm honest when I say this. It is about you liking what you did, and you expressed yourself with color, and you communicated with yourself through color. That's to be celebrated. That's not to be judged. And that's a moment in time where I had a conversation in depth with me, and that shows it. And that's it. There's nothing about anything else other than what a beautiful moment that is, and the colors that I use to represent my soul. It's unbelievable.
Well, I had fun.
I love it. I just love it.
I had fun. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's truly meaningful for me to see this, because this is exactly what I did this for. It's exactly why I do what I do.
Well, and I only have to say that I've been laughing because after, or maybe it was right before he showed me, he was like, well, I was trying to paint a dewdrop, but it's more like, what did you call it?
It looks like an
alien
egg pod coming down from some sci-fi movie. You know, like I'm like aliens going to come out of that. I don't know. It's like some alien. Yeah. Anyway, with three suns.
That's why I keep laughing.
I know. But in time, that's going to mean something different to you. That's what's so crazy about this. You think right now this is something. In about 5 months from now, you're going to look back on that, and it has a completely different meaning for you. It is truly a open door, colors representing you opening a door. That's it. And then you're going to go, oh, I remember thinking that was an alien pod. I know what this means to me now. And you're going to be blown away by it because you won't expect it. And that's why this is so beautiful, because you've opened up what I call a portal. And it's a new portal to your emotions. Now you're connected, and now you're going to have an easier time expressing that way, because you're not going to feel anyone's judging you. Isn't that beautiful? No one's saying good or bad. That's just you going, look at this. I did me. This is me. And celebrate that. That's worth celebrating.
And after this experience, my first inclination was, I want to come back to the canvas. Yeah. I want to create that next thing. And in fact, I told her, here's what I'm thinking about my next canvas. It was really a beautiful experience.
There's going to be a time you're not going to think about what's going to be on the next canvas. You're just going to do it without thinking. You're going to go, I'm not going to plan ahead. I'm just going to let it. And as time goes on, you're going to find yourself thinking less and less about what you're going to create. You're just going to go to the canvas and let your paintbrush just do what it's going to do. And you're going to be, wow. You just started a beautiful journey, and it's beautiful to see this, because, you know, a year from now, I want you to look back in this moment, and you're going to see a different perspective in yourself that you didn't probably have before. It opens up something where you see things differently. It's like the Wizard of Oz. You go from everything black and white, and then all of a sudden you're in the Oz and everything's in color. It's almost like that feeling. Something changes within you, and it never goes back to the same. It just brightens more and more as time goes on. And you'll remember that time when that happened for you. And a lot of people go back to the beginning when they did this is the turning point, which is really neat to hear. And I've been hearing more and more of it, because more people are coming back with testimonials now that they're getting out there. And this is why I so appreciate today what you're doing. It's such validation as to why I'm going on the world stage in 2 weeks. At first, I had imposter syndrome, going, who am I? I didn't start out to be an art therapist. I was a stay-at-home mom. And how am I on the world stage? I don't deserve to be up there with PhDs and doctorates of psychology. I'm just a teacher. And no, I have every right to be up there, because I created something innovative that is helping people. And to overcome that imposter syndrome of I'm not enough, that was my biggest feat. So everything in that kit I had to use to get myself to a world stage, if you think about it. I had to overcome all of those hurdles, including imposter syndrome, which is one of the biggest ones for me. And we are all, it's the same thing as I'm not an artist. Who am I to be an artist? I don't paint like painters do. I have a friend that's over here today. She's sitting on my couch. She created the kit box color. She's the artist. I paint and I'm innovative, but we all have our own gifts. And I think if everyone realized they're going into this to find something special within themselves they didn't know they had, that's beautiful. And when they realize it has very little to nothing to do with painting, it's going to make them more inclined to try this, because it's tapping in, like you said earlier, it is tapping into yourself, finding out who you are, and enjoying the journey. This is about enjoying it, not looking at this arduous thing. It's like, now I get to enjoy, sit back and look at my life as one paint stroke at a time. Tomorrow I'm going to paint blue. We'll see what the next day brings. Might be green. I don't know yet. And before you know it, a week later, you have a canvas that's full of color, and you didn't expect that. That's the motion I want more people to come to. Think more openly, and openly with a more open creative mind takes away the anxiety. Because when you're in a creative moment, doing anything creative, anxiety goes away right off the bat. So we're doing so many different things with this. We're also taking away anxiety and depression. It's helping with that. With the people I've spoken with has really helped with that quite a bit. Because when you're doing anything creative, it takes away any of that negative self-talk. It's just, you're in the moment. You're creating for creative purposes only. And that's my goal with this, is to have more people in that mindset, that healthy mindset. Be creative, be yourself, find who you are, because it starts with the mind. The health starts right here. Getting this straightened out will help with all the physical things. Right now I have doctors in Texas incorporating these kits into their healthcare practice because they called me their missing link. Can you imagine? That just happened a couple months ago. And the missing link is true. This is a missing link. We're not looking at the emotional side of things. While there's therapy sessions out there, I'm not going against therapy because I was also in therapy, but there's a piece of this that people don't have access to, and I've created a tool to help you get access to it quicker and better. That helps with therapists. This is a tool that therapists can use. This is a tool a life coach can use with their client. This is a tool to be used in tandem with healthcare professionals, because I have the chiropractors working on their body. They have the red light therapy for this. They have everything but the emotional side. And what I have is an emotional vitamin in a kit, or an emotional massage. And so now they're looking into this more seriously, and the doctors looking into this are really seeing it as a part of healthcare that's necessary to help heal the patient fully, because you can give them any kind of drug, but it's not going to work if their emotional mind is not cleared up.
Wow. As you're just closing that, I thought this: darkness always yields to light.
Yes.
Fear always yields to faith.
Yes.
And at the heart of painting your soul, the soul care kit is creation, creativity, imagination. Another word for creativity, imagination is faith.
Yes.
It is the work of faith. So an interview with Karen Hanlon. Karen, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you
so much. What a pleasure it has been. Thank you. I'm honored to have been on your show today. This was a delight. I thank you for doing this. Thank you for showing me, being vulnerable and showing me your paintings and your beautiful poetry. I love everything you've said. Your description of how you went through this helped me see this is necessary to keep pushing out there, because I know everyone will benefit from this, because it has such a way of healing that is profound. And what you showed me is that it is really, really even working with both of you, and in a short time, it's going to keep happening now. You're going to find more insights as time goes on. That's what's really special about it. It's not a one and done, and you're right. You're going to keep going back to the canvas. Even the one thing you don't think you're good at, you're going to find yourself doing more and more, and you're not going to know why. It's going to make it, how am I doing this? I didn't even like this. You're going to be blown away with where you head now. You're going to be surprised. You'll surprise yourself. So you're on a journey, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. Truly, truly humbled.
And cut. It's a wrap.
Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for sharing this episode with that one friend who needs this conversation. Thank you for all the ratings, the reviews, the comments, and especially the support. We so appreciate you.
Now, if you want to take a peek behind the curtain and be the first to know about special previews, backstage updates here at the show, and especially some private collection content that doesn't come out in the regular show,
be sure to join our VIP community at theforeveryoungshow.com.